Hey YouTube, welcome to a very special review. Today I'm checking out the 2015 film, Shivers Down Your Spine. Now why is this a special one? Well, because I was actually contacted by the filmmakers of this movie, Dead Lantern Pictures, to check it out and do a review. Shivers Down Your Spine was directed by Matthew Kister, and it's a micro-budget horror anthology film. How micro of a budget? How about $750? Shivers Down Your Spine has 10 different stories. One of those is the wraparound story, and that one's called Out of the Lamp. Out of the Lamp's about a guy who microwaves a frozen pizza, and lo and behold, it becomes a genie's lamp. So what you do when you get a genie's lamp? Well, you rub the genie lamp, of course. Out pops a topless genie, as they do. The genie then gives the guy 3 wishes. Actually gives him 4 wishes because the first wish was considered really dumb, so she gave him a freebie. Anyways, one of the wishes was for the genie to tell him a bunch of stories. He asked her to do 9 because, of course, with their story, that makes 10, and 10 is a perfectly good number for a horror anthology. And I agree with him, 10 is a pretty good number for a horror anthology film. The wraparound story is actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The chemistry between the two of them was a lot of fun. It's a little bit on the self-aware side. It has some pretty good jokes throughout the entire film. I really enjoyed it. Deadbolt is about a young woman who is haunted by a ghost on Halloween night. Now, okay, I'm sorry, this one wasn't one of my favorites. I'm not saying it's bad. The thing about this movie is that all the stories are pretty good. Whether or not I like them or not is more of a personal taste kind of issue. This has no reflection on the quality of the story or anything like that. As I have stated in previous videos, I'm not a fan of supernatural horror in the first place, so a ghost story really didn't do a whole lot for me. I could see where some people would like it. I, on the other hand, I just didn't enjoy it. I did, however, enjoy the special effects. This story does boast most of the special effects in this film. They do a great job pulling off some more practical effects. Number 2 is Convention Girl, and it's about a guy at a horror convention who picks up a fellow convention goer, and for some reason or another, well, he thinks she's a vampire. I'm not going to tell you why, because I'm going to ruin the little twisty twist. But let's just say he meets the girl, thinks the girl's a vampire. This one I really enjoyed. I like the story. I like how even in a short amount of time it tells a complete story. There's nothing really left out about it. The acting in this was pretty good. The story was well written. It was well shot. It was one of my favorites in this. Number 3 is Birthday Dinner. In this one, 2 parents sit down for dinner and discuss how they punished their daughter. This is a very dialogue-heavy story. It doesn't really change from the 2 parents sitting there talking to one another. This is also the best acted story out of all of them, in my opinion, which is good considering it is all dialogue. I really enjoyed this story. It was probably my favorite story. I think it was creepy. The 2 actors were great. You really were kind of wondering the entire time what was going on, and then when you do find out what this punishment was, it was pretty dark. It's pretty dark. This was a really good one. I enjoyed it a lot. Probably top of my list, at least in the acting. It's definitely the best acted story in all of them. 4th story, Whispering Board, is 3 sorority sisters who play around with a Ouija board and find out who the murderer of one of their friends truly was. It just didn't stick with me personally. I actually kind of forgot about this story. Before I did my review, I was going back and studying everything again, and I forgot this story completely. But that's just a personal preference. Again, I'm not a fan of the supernatural kind of stuff. Halfway through, we come to I Dream of Genie. Look, no horror anthology is complete until you get your monkey paw story. This is one of those be careful what you wish for kind of story. It's really fun. It's the only other story involving the genie here. The little twist in it was really funny. I got a kick out of this one. Definitely one of my favorite ones I saw. I really enjoyed the story. Goofy, fun, lighthearted. It helped break things up a little bit and add a little bit more comedy to things. Number 6 was Shortly After Midnight. It was a film noir-esque kind of thing. It's very unique. It stands out a lot with the other stories in this film. It definitely has its own vibe to it. This one's about a man who's asked to, well, get rid of somebody. Let's just say that he's just told to get rid of them. You decide what that means. This is a really well-written story. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's going to resonate well with a lot of other people. The 7th story is A Bad Heart, and that's the story of a woman who is plagued by a serial killer who kills his victims around Valentine's Day. I didn't really care for this one. I felt like this one was kind of a filler story. I don't know how else to explain it. It just kind of felt squished in there amongst all these other ones. I really feel this was the weakest story. It tries to have a twist ending, but I kind of gave it my own twist ending in my head, and it definitely was not the one that they went with. So in the end, I think this one was okay. I do believe it was the weakest of all of the stories. I also want to say I think that this was also the one that they make a little fun of when they get back to the wraparound story, because in the wraparound story they even go, well, not all the stories are going to be good. I think this is the one they mentioned. The next one is called Last Breath. This again was one of my favorite stories. I really enjoyed the storytelling in this one. It's about a woman who believes her boyfriend is cheating on her. I'm not going to go into much more depth than that, because if I give you much more, it's really going to ruin this one. Again, these are short stories, so the more I give away, the less story you get. And believe me, in the end of this one, it is a very emotional story. I really felt for the character in the end of the story. I really did. And that brings us to our last story in the anthology, and that's A Christmas Horror Story. This one is fun from beginning to end. It is a love letter to the 1980s slasher films, specifically in my mind, the holiday slasher films. Because believe me, if you know the slashers, every freaking holiday has its own slasher. Christmas, of course, has the most, I think, which is weird. It's weird that Christmas has more slasher films than Halloween. Well, this one, as I said, is a complete love letter to the 1980s movies. And why I say that is because, well, it's supposed to take place in the 1980s, and it looks like an old used VHS. It really brings a lot to the story. It gives it a fun vibe. The acting is honestly very spot on to what you would find in some B late night film on USA. Up all night. I tried. I really tried there. Okay guys, so that's all the stories from Shivers Down Your Spine. As I said, I really enjoyed this film from beginning to end. It's an independent film by Dead Lantern. They're based out of Nebraska. This film took a total of 4 years to get everything together, and let me tell you, they did a great job. This was a labor of love, and I could tell. They put a lot of work into it. Everyone on this film did a fantastic job. This is not some silly, low-budget schlock fest. This is a film made by people who wanted to make a good movie. They just didn't have a whole lot of money. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of the Film Geek. I want to give a shout out to Dead Lantern. I want to say thanks for giving me this opportunity. And this Sunday, my special weekly roundup, I am going to be doing my first not yet released film review. And again, it's from the Dead Lantern guys, and it's the sequel to this one, Chills Down Your Spine. If you would like to see Shivers Down Your Spine, you can buy it on Blu-ray from their website. I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can check them out. Help support independent film. Go ahead, check this out, guys. Alright, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek, folks, and as I always say, keep watching movies, because you know I'm gonna.